How have you been able to kind of adapt and navigate that influx of like, okay, now multiple people are wanting to do business with me. How can I make sure that I keep the same level of excellence and meet the needs of the client?
So with that, honestly, one of my goals is to be unavailable, right? Not necessarily to where I can't always perform, but just that there's a want there, there's demand, right? Because when it's like a privilege to work with your company, that's good. You can demand whatever prices you want, different things like that. So um, I really do a lot of studying, breaking down like, okay, the software I use can show me, okay, here's where all my leads are coming from. Here's where, most of my work, most of my clients are finding me, different things like that. So I can tell like how it's going. So I'm like, okay, we're starting to really pick up. I just put a lot of money into Google, put a lot of money into Instagram. It's coming in crazy. So I'll start prepping people, you know what I mean? So I'm doing my research. I had to hire an editor. That was the first thing. If you're watching this and you're working by yourself, the first in-house hire you need to make is an editor. Editing eats up so much of your time where you cannot grow your business. So
Okay, y'all. I have been doing this podcast, Finding Your Niche with Neish, for a little minute now. I would say a little over 2 years, going strong. And I had someone that I've always wanted to interview. We've had a mutual interest in him coming on the show, me wanting him to come on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, it's here. Derick Pope II.
there we go.
Filmmaker, director, one of my favorite content creators.
Appreciate that.
People just in the video space as a whole. Thank you so much for finally coming on Finding Your Niche with Neish. It's here.
Had to.
First of all, when I was doing a little bit of research for the show, I noticed something, and this is something that I actually always notice when this happens.
Okay.
But Derick Pope II, I am always like interested in people who keep the second, and they make a big deal that people know that they're the second.
Okay.
So can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because I think that's a conversation around identity and a conversation around the legacy, essentially. So can you talk to us
Hey,
about why
funny?
you keep the second?
The main thing, and he gonna watch this too. I'm doing some dope things, man. I just don't want him getting credit for it. My pops, man. That's all it is. No. But no, it's just growing up, like, once I got old enough, start getting mail and just different things. My mom be opening my mail and his mail at the same time and stuff. Like, we just get mixed up a lot. So it's just like separating all that. Like,
Got you.
do I do the LLC? They're like, oh, are you this person and all that stuff? Just all that stuff popping up. So that's really what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and then his content ain't as good as mine, but he on social, you know what I mean? So it's like, is this the dude I'm supposed to be hired to shoot my,
Shout out to
video?
Derick Pope I. No,
Right.
I think that's really cool. All right, speaking of your name, really your career, your skills precede you because you're super dope, and I'm super
Appreciate that.
excited to have you on. And the name of your company and the credibility that you've been able to build speaks for itself because of some of the clients that you've been able to have and the business that you've been able to do. Talk to us a little bit about the inception of you realizing, oh my goodness, I love video. I want to do this for a living as my niche.
It really started before the production company, right? So going back to Derick Pope the first, right? I give him credit for the creativity, right? So when I was in elementary, we used to have aspirations of having an animation company, right? So we was working on animation, doing different things. It kind of fell off because I got busy with basketball and everything. So I've always had that creative gene. So getting into basketball, I would do like my own highlight tapes. My pops would do my highlight tapes. So we would that was the first intro to video. And then I was overseas around 2018 playing in Germany, and we had to train kids, different things like that. So I was taking videos just on the phone, posting on social. Then I started blowing up, and I'm like, dang, video is powerful. I'm reaching people all over the place, you know? So I was in Germany and reaching all these people in America. So when I got back to the States, I knew I was kind of feeling like, I'm kind of done with basketball. So, I just continued to do the training, continued to take videos. And once I got back to the States, I was able to get my hands on the actual, like, decent camera. I thought it was all that back then, but now
Where was
like,
it? T6?
it wasn't even a T6. It was one of them. It was some lenses. It don't even come off the camera. You know what I mean? The little kit lens. It's like we zoom, but it was cool for what it was. It was a Canon. So it started turning my brand up. So just that quality, people started recognizing. I was able to make a lot of money. So I'm like, okay, if it can do this for me, I know it can do it for other people. And I already had like local people telling me like, oh, can you shoot me a video and everything? So I spent, like I said, I was overseas, but it wasn't like top level NBA type thing. So I had to get some money. So I spent about $4,000 at the time that I didn't really have. I put it on credit. There was this business coach called Michael Stern. I'm always shouting him out. Saw him on Instagram, jumped on a free call with him. Felt super genuine. I just took a leap of faith, and it was up from there. Like, so I knew I loved it when he pushed me. That first video I had to do, I was like, is this good enough? No, reshoot it. And I had to do, it was the hardest thing. He was like, this is gonna be the hardest thing you've ever done. And I had to just keep reshooting. He's like, it's not gonna be good enough. This is your staple that's gonna put you out there. So, but I enjoyed every second of it. When I saw the things I create, like, you can really make things that don't exist or just recreate, tell any story. So, yeah, when I made my money back before the 3 months was up, that's when I knew. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is it.
Right, the money part.
Right.
That's lit. One of the things that I really like about your story specifically when it comes to film and when it comes to shooting is the lane, I guess, that maybe you would have the most strides in, which is in the corporate space. I say, like,
I know it don't look like
right?
it, right? It don't look like it.
But I really think it's cool because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if you are a shooter and you shoot video and you want to learn more, you want to figure out how to scale your business, getting into the corporate space is one of the, I'll say this, it is, and you can correct me, easiest client to shoot as far as simplicity. I guess it's a simplicity in the nature of the shoot, and one of, if not the most lucrative,
right,
in this space.
Right.
So to me, those two ideas of it being super easy and super lucrative is like insane. And when you're able to make it in that pocket, it's crazy. Can you talk to that and your success when it comes to shooting for corporate businesses?
Absolutely. So luckily, that's with the business coach, I learned all that from him, like just how to get in. That's where I started. And it's got its pros and cons, you know what I mean? Like, it's lucrative, it's easy, but we're all creatives at heart. So like, you're just sitting there, you having to, like, literally I had to send one of my shooters out to do an expo on like cleaning goods, or you're just learning about just like how to clean a pool or something. It's boring, you just have to sit there for 2 hours. But I've literally had moments where a client paid for us to travel to Charlotte, just shoot a video. It probably took 2-3 hours. We didn't even have to edit. We made about $6,000. It's easy. We just sitting there, camera on tripod, interview, and that's it. Like, literally just that corporate space where you're just literally putting up interviews, got a 3-point lighting, and you just know how to ask questions and make that client feel comfortable. Easy money. But so it is, and I just was talking about this in a workshop I recently did. Like, you really want to look at your projects that you're doing and realize what's the most lucrative. Like, as much as creative we want to be, as much as we want to shoot for Lil Baby and all this stuff, you know, Lil Baby, you got to put in, depending on the video, you might have to put in a whole week worth of pre-production, bring out 20 people, all these different lights, and get these locations and stuff. And I can make the same thing, you know what I mean, in a day or two, just doing a couple of different little interviews. So you really want to assess, like, which clients are the easiest on you. The corporate people, they pay quick. Unlike the labels, it's taking net 60, net 90. So it's definitely a thing I enjoy, and it could be very lucrative. And they do a lot of retainers and stuff. It's like, we need video for you. I just
Once they have you and they like you, they keep you.
I just had a private school client that was like, hey, we need video for the whole year. We just got our new budget for the fiscal year. You're in there, like, so.
That easy.
You know they need content. Like, yes, it's
wow.
It's dope. It's dope.
That's crazy. But that's cool. So then, okay, that happens, and then multiple people, and then maybe too many people start wanting your business, your skill set. How have you been able to kind of adapt and navigate that influx of, like, okay, now multiple people are wanting to do business with me. how can I make sure that I keep the same level of excellence and meet the needs of the client?
So with that, honestly, one of my goals is to be unavailable, right? Not necessarily to where I can't always perform, but just that there is a want there, there's demand, right? Because when it's like a privilege to work with your company, that's good. You can demand whatever prices you want, different things like that. So I really do a lot of studying, breaking down like, okay, the software I use can show me, okay, here's where all my leads are coming from. Here's where, most of my work, most of my clients are finding me, different things like that. So I can tell like how it's going. So I'm like, okay, we're starting to really pick up. I just put a lot of money into Google, put a lot of money into Instagram. It's coming in crazy. So I'll start prepping people, you know what I mean? So I'm doing my research. Had to hire an editor. That was the first thing. If you're watching this and you're working by yourself, the first in-house hire you need to make is an editor. Editing eats up so much of your time where you cannot grow your business. So I had to hire an editor, and that's when like 2022 was lit because, I was able to work on the business, not in the business. Editing, it'll take me 2 weeks to do a 3-day edit. Like, that's how much I hate editing. So just putting the people into place, project managers, producers, editors to just help, help me be able to do everything. And then, so I can do multiple productions in multiple states. So a lot of clients we got are national clients, right? So, for instance, just recently I had that big commercial up in New York. We had a shoot with Sony like on that same day, and I just sent some of my other people out. That was in Tennessee.
Oh, that's
then
nice.
That was another big client right the next day. So I have people in place. I just did a lot of networking, working with people, all the major cities. I'm like just putting people in place because I know it can get crazy. So
yeah. Speaking of, okay, so let's unpack Hierarch for a second because that's your company, your production company. This is always interesting because you decide to create this company and then you hire a team, right? But then everything is great when everything is great. But then when you're on a production, or maybe you're not on a production, but things do not go well, yet the responsibility still falls on you. It's your company,
right?
At the end of the day. How have you been able to kind of like deal with that aspect?
So that's the hardest thing too. And I know a lot of creators I talk to is like, I don't want to outsource. Nobody cares as much as me. Nobody works as hard as me. And I've had it happen just recently, but what I've learned over time is you have to set company standards. Like I don't know, a lot of us worked when we first started working. I don't know, you might have worked at like a restaurant or something like that. You go to that restaurant, you go to wherever job it is, they got video training, they got this and that. Like, you're gonna smile in everybody's face. This is what you do, this is your do's and don'ts. So just really having that company culture of like, this is a must. Like, when you get to the client, do this. Like, so I just really have that blueprint of everybody. It's like, hey, this is how you represent Hierarch. But, stuff still happens, and that's just part of HR. So,
but how much do you enforce that, right? Because it's easy to have it in place, right, and have the systems in place, but then at the end of the day, everybody's still their own individual person, motivated by their own individual behavior, lives, and stuff like that. How do you, I guess, emphasize that these are kind of like non-negotiables when it comes to working under my umbrella?
Well, one, I don't do nothing without a contract. So, like, I work with I got in-house people, I got contractors too. So, like, my contractors, they have to sign a contract saying, like, this is how I act, this is what I do. And they're not getting paid if they showing up late, different things like that. Everybody work for me, and they know this because they watching, but I lie to them. If we need to be there at 5, I'm like, okay, be there at 4:15. Just little things like, hey, this is the dress code. Hey, if we working with a big celebrity, like, relax. If they talk to you, talk to them. Like, don't just be all in their face. So, that's a big thing. I enforce it. Not only work with people that I've seen, you know what I mean? Because in this industry, we don't work with a lot of strangers, you know what I mean? So it's like, I know how people are going to act. Like, depending on the project, I might be like, oh, this person can't work on that project. I'm going to put them over here. So,
and I think that's something to speak to as well. Like, when you're dealing with, obviously, like you said, there's the tangible aspect of, I know this person's going to act this way because they've signed it and it's on paper. But then there's the other aspect that's intangible when it comes to having a team. And that's where you have to kind of relinquish trust. Especially if it's at a shoot that you're not at. can you tell a story or a situation of maybe where you were able to trust your team in your absence and they executed?
Man, yeah. So I mean, a great example is like I do about 2 terms of interns, like 2 rounds of interns each year. And I've had some interns actually work their way up to get jobs from me, get paid positions, everything like that. But there was a time where I was on a vacation in Miami, and it was actually 3 of my interns. We trained like for so long. We doing weekly meetings, different things like that. And I had a pretty decent client. It was another really big production company working with another big client. And I had just been training them for so long, and I was like, well, it was a 2-day shoot. So the first day I did a virtual producer. I was just like tuning in, okay, make sure everything's there. And they killed it. And it's just about really just putting people out there. So like if it's a smaller project, I might, even when I'm supposed to be there, if it's like I might take on a smaller project when I'm working with interns, different things like that. And I'll just hand it out to them like, oh, here, you got it. And they're like, oh, wait. I'm like, you got it. Like, this is what you need to do. Go get that experience. And they have success with the smaller projects, and they just build up that confidence. So like I said, I was chilling in Miami, and my team, it was a pretty solid like green screen production. Like they had to have the lighting ready and writing everything, and they killed it. I let them go.
Was it nerve-wracking for you though? Like, were you the whole time kind of pressed? Like, God, I hope they don't.
It was. You know what? It was, but it comes. You just have to have that confidence in your teaching ability, and just knowing you have to delegate. And like, I believe in God, so it's like, hey, look, if I lose this client, it's not meant for me. And I had that confidence. There's gonna be multiple more to take their place. So
yeah,
it's just like, you get to a point, honestly, it's like, I can't keep doing this myself. Whatever happens, but I gotta bring some other people in. So it's just like a little bit of that too. But yeah. To be honest, I'm like, you will drain yourself. It get crazy. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of you saying that, you just reminded. Okay, so on the contrast, do you have a horror story where you're like, I trust you guys, y'all got it, y'all know what y'all know what to do. You see the footage and you're like, I can't even turn this in.
Yep. Yeah. So on our first shoot with Sony,
you said Sony?
Sony.
Yikes.
The Sony, right.
Oh my God.
I'm shooting with another.
Wait, time out.
Right, yeah.
Wait a second. You are a shooter shooting for Sony.
Wait.
The Sony?
Yeah, and we had to shoot with Sony cameras. Like,
and you had to
that
shoot
was a requirement.
Okay, go ahead.
They're like, you can't, you gotta shoot Sony.
Tell the story, Derek. Tell the story.
So, like I said, it's a public mind you, the company that I'm working with up in New York is huge. Like, they're all global, everything like that. They're publicly traded, everything. So I'm like, gotta take that. That's a $250,000 project. Gotta take that. Right. So, but then Sony hits me up for a smaller project, but I'm like, it's still Sony. They're like, hey, we'll put you in our vendor database, everything like that. I'm like, I gotta do it. Like, we gotta make this happen. So I called up some of my people. But the Sony camera requirement was a little curveball. You know what I mean? Because we usually shoot other cameras. And I was like, I put everything in place, but I didn't think about, there's this one thing. It was the Sony FX6. And my guy that was shooting it, not gonna name drop, but my guy that was shooting it, he called me. He's like, man, I just got back to the editing bay, everything like that. That camera didn't record any other footage. I'm just like, I was just like, Sony, what? You know how you're so stressed out, you just calm, you're just like, okay, all right.
So that's a nightmare.
Back, and I'm like, are you sure?
That's a shooter's nightmare.
Are you sure? He's like, it was showing that the light was red, it was recording, like, it was supposed to be recording. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Are you serious?
It turned out he was trying to shoot internal RAW, but that camera didn't do it. So it was acting like it was recording, but it couldn't do it in camera. It would have to do it to an external monitor. So I'm just like, and I called him. I'm like, I have to reach out to Sony. So I'm just like, hey, you see how my voice is shaking, just talking, just bringing it back. Hey,
guys.
We got a problem.
Oh my
are we able to, you know, my people said, so one camera worked, and they got mostly, and luckily they were able to shoot proxies. They recorded proxies, but it didn't record the full res. But it's Sony, they don't want no proxies. Like, they make cameras, you know what I mean? So
I have a hate relationship with proxies.
Man.
God.
So yeah, so I just had to let them know, like, hey, are we able to reschedule? I got somebody in Tennessee to go out for free, like nothing. They're like, yeah, that was the only time like they're booked, like, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Oh my God, that's a pretty big L.
I was so mad, but luckily we were able to make it work. And like, that's the thing with this industry, it's all about problem solving. So there's a software that can like upscale the the proxies, make it look kind of decent. Like, it wasn't perfect, but luckily for that project, it wasn't like one of those that had to be like major commercial things, like,
yeah,
you know, RE quality type thing. But
so you made me think of something.
Stressed out. I was so stressed. Sony, like, I'm like, that's like a shooter's dream. Like,
that's insane.
So, yeah.
But you made me think of something. So now, like, when it comes to it actually being hindsight 2020, because not to say you can finesse certain people who don't know about shooting. I mean, it's Sony, so they probably know. But like, do you think maybe you should have not called them and then still tried to do the ProRes bump up proxy, and then just send it?
All right, so I see what you're saying. So it's like, dang, if I tell them there's a problem, they're never coming back.
Right.
There's that thought. But I've learned that like relationships are the number one thing over everything. So like, just the fact that, you know, I was open with them, I showed them that I wanted to make a solution, you know, they're gonna respect that. So you know, I know that they know, because I could tell just by the way they were talking to me. They were dropping out. You know how some of these people, clients you talk to, are like, oh, I don't know, just make it, what is it, 4K, make it look good, 1080, we don't know, just make it look good, make it look like this one TV show I watch. He's like, okay, they don't know.
Yeah.
But the Sony people, it's like, all right, so we want it in
wow.
this compression, we want it in this resolution, and we're gonna use this lens, and make sure you export it like this. I'm like, okay, they know their stuff. So it's like, there's no finessing Sony, like, no.
Wow, no. Man, that's, whew.
It was.
My heart hurts. That's an amazing potential client. And oh man, that's bad. Well, lesson learned. What was your biggest takeaway?
I still follow up with them, and I'm like, okay, well, like, how did everything
turn out?
How you doing?
Yeah.
I told them I was going to buy a Sony camera and stuff, so it's like, you know, trying to work that relationship. But what you were saying...
I said, what was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
Man, just be more thorough. I think I could have been more thorough. I was so focused on that huge project that I could have, like... I just assumed I gave that dude the benefit of the doubt. And I should have just been more... Like, you always, as a leader, you don't want to micromanage, but you just got to, like, be detailed. Because I've noticed that a lot. There's something about employees, and that's a hard thing. Like, when your leader's like, why don't they just work independently? Why are they asking me so many questions? Why are they doing this? But that's just what it is. I don't know why, if it's just a thing where they don't want to work outside their needs, their duties, or whatever it is. But they're always asking me. I find that like they're always asking me questions, and I'm always having to like just over explain stuff. So I just need to keep that same energy throughout all aspects. Like just be detailed. That's stay 5 steps ahead, especially 15 when you're working with Sony. But
yeah, I think speaking of staying 5 steps ahead and being, I guess, essentially let down when it comes to being in this industry, you've experienced 2 pretty traumatic things just recently this year in your life when it comes to you shooting. Something that I literally am sad that I keep hearing this, but you were robbed. Your gear was stolen. Because you're not the first person. You're literally like, I would be devastated if that happened to me, because we already know like how much all of this equipment costs, how much we've invested into it, and then just to find out it's gone. Can you talk about that, your realization of your equipment being stolen, and how you've had to kind of like recoup as a result?
So for everybody that had like the crazy reaction, I didn't actually get like, you know, when you think the word robbed, I wasn't held up like, give me the cameras. Like, you know, we were at an event. I was shooting for one of my retainer clients up in New Jersey.
He said, give me the
give me, hey, that happens though. Like, take them, like, but so that happens. But one of our retainer clients up in New Jersey was up there shooting an event. It was extra early, so we're thinking everybody that's there is for the event. There was these 2 Spanish guys that were not supposed to be there, and we literally talked to them like, hey, do you have your tickets? Are you supposed to be here? And they're like, oh yeah, my friend's gonna bring my ticket. It was like, okay, cool. I set my camera down because there's a bunch of workers around. Somebody asked me to go help. Like literally, I was gone for 3 to 5 minutes. I come back, camera's gone, and I'm just like, did somebody pick it up? Were they cleaning? Because they were cleaning. I'm walking around because I'd be having times where I'd be tripping. You ever had that time
Yes.
where you like, who stole my, who's about it? Then you be like, oh, it's right here. So I'm thinking it's like one of them moments. I'm like, because it's happened to me. I'm like, yo, no, it's really gone. They pull up surveillance, and them same dudes, sure enough, they walked around, was looking, waiting for it to be clear. He had a suit jacket, put it over the camera, and then dipped out. Like, we saw them all, they had crazy surveillance. And then by the time they got down to they were walking, by the time they got to the door, they took off running. So, you know.
They never got any kind of penalty or consequence? Like, did you ever find them and like?
I mean, I had to file a police report, you know.
Wow.
They was slow. I mean, it's not big on their radar, so they weren't really.
So then what did you do with the shoot that day? You're down a camera.
So that's why I'm able to charge so much, because I just tell my clients like, hey, like when you work with people like that are experienced, there's an answer for everything. So I always have backups. I bring, even if it's a 1 camera shoot, I'll have like 3 with me. So I happen to have 3 with me, and I just made it work and just was able to switch stuff on and off. You know, there was a little drop off in quality, different lenses and everything like that, but you know, I definitely took about an hour to just go circle the block looking for them. So they missed that hour for this.
Yeah.
but yeah, so I was able to still get the shoot done. And
that was a whack. Wherever y'all are whack for that.
Right.
Ugh. But that's hard, and I hear a lot of people kind of talk about that, and that's something, I guess, like you said, if you have all your ducks in a row and if you have things in place, you can still be able to execute and to like essentially get the job done. There was something else that I saw you mention. I don't know if you talked about it yet, but you had like a near-death experience. Was that associated with shooting?
No, that would have been crazy if that was associated with shooting. No, that was just I was on vacation. That was a vacation I took spontaneously because I was just so stressed out. I'm like, I've been working like crazy. I haven't slowed down. I was like, dang, I haven't slowed down this year. I need to go take a vacation. So that was just me being extra dehydrated on the plane. I'm just like,
wow.
I don't think I'm gonna make it. Like
on the plane, you could feel yourself like fading away.
Yeah,
that's scary.
And it was because I've had a really bad allergic reaction before. And they say those are like life-threatening. And when I had that, I felt myself like slipping. They were like, "Stay with us, don't try not to go to sleep and everything." So it was kind of similar to that feeling, except I was in a plane. So it's like, and I didn't want to. I'm like, dang, I'm about to have to make them.
You can feel yourself though. Like, what does it feel like?
So well, first off, I felt like it was me and God one-on-one. I'm talking to him like, yo.
Really?
No, I'm begging. I'm like, please just let me make it. Like, I would change
like in
my
your
ways,
mind,
everything.
like in your mind, you're just like, you just felt like a very spiritual moment where it's like, this is it.
But no, I just felt myself getting weak. It was just like, you know how you can like just kind of feel your body, you're present, like you feel your legs and everything. I didn't feel that. I'm just like suffering, like it was painful. I could barely breathe. I'm just like going through it. I wasn't barely conscious, so I'm just like, I felt myself just kind of like,
oh my God.
Yeah, just imagine a phone on full percentage, and that percentage is just
slowly going
dropping.
down.
That's how.
That's scary, dude.
Yeah, I was like.
Did you tell somebody? He's like, hey, I feel like I'm dying. Like, what did you do?
I mean, it was, I didn't want to bother nobody or freak nobody out.
You didn't want to bother nobody with the fact that you're dying.
I was just sitting there, I was just like sitting I had to go to the airplane bathroom.
So
just
polite.
like.
Such a gentleman.
Because imagine if you're on a plane and somebody's like, I think I had landed the plane early. Like, you're going to be like.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be crazy.
That would be.
I didn't.
Excuse me. Everyone, I'm dying.
Stop this plane right now.
If I'm dying.
I was trying to muscle through. I was like, all right, if I can just
that is
muscle, I just need some air. I need to breathe something. And it was really when I was locked in that, because at first I didn't know it was starting to just like get worse and worse. So at first I was like, I just need to run. I was just hot. I got a fever. I need to go to the airplane bathroom. But it was when in the air, I was like, dang, this might be it. This is how it ends in the airplane bathroom. Yeah, I didn't even feel like getting up. I didn't have the energy at that point. I'm just in there just like, oh. So I'm just like, God, like, don't let it be this. Like, don't let it be this. So
Okay, so you have this moment with God, this heart to heart, and you are saying to God, God, if you let me live, I will do what?
Just change my ways. Like, I know I'm not perfect, and like, I had gotten like, it's easy when you just working so much, so busy, you get caught up and you're not really caring about other people. You're just doing what you want to do. Like, you get to this selfish point. I knew I was at that selfish point, and I was also like operating in my gift, but not my purpose. And I was just telling the guy behind the camera this, you know, no matter how much you're doing, like working with Sony, working with BT, all these big name companies, and it's like one is building their brand, and two, it's not super fulfilling. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's nice. It makes you a lot of money. And a lot of people are like, man, you're killing it. You're doing so good. I'm just like, y'all don't even know. I feel so empty still. And it's because I've actually talked to God too about it. And he's like, I need you working on your purpose. Cause that's always big for me. Like, I got to operate in my purpose. So part of that purpose is creating content with the underlying moral story, you know what I mean? Obviously Christian based. Well, not obviously, I'm Christian, but Christian based, and just, changing the name of, like, when you think of Christian music, when you think of Christian entertainment, you're like, ugh, boring, dry, they're gonna be, Bible thumping and everything. But no,
Yeah.
actually, just being able to put out great stories that are really entertaining and that can, like, just be life changing and relatable for people. So that's on my list now. I told God, like, hey, I'm about to actually start not just getting lost chasing money, but I'm gonna actually start focusing on, like, trusting you, because I was just like, like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, but never really trusting God. Like, hey, like, if I take this leap of faith doing something that's not exactly paying me right now, are you still gonna get me covered? So just having that faith, and just doing right by people and stuff. So that's really,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was deep.
That's
I've
heavy.
had a whole, like, I'm on a whole different journey right now. Like, taking care of my body, just staying away from different things, like just watching what I watch, what I listen to. Like, I got homies, oh, let's go to the club, let's go out. I'm just locked in right now.
Locked in. I
Just turned
love
29,
that.
about to be 30. Just
Oh my
maybe that's what it is. Like,
gosh.
just gotta be getting old.
Wow.
That old head wisdom,
Are you
but trying
excited?
to
I'm
be,
in my 30s already. I love my 30s.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like. I don't know. I just love my 30s a lot.
That's how I want it to be. So I'm trying to.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
Okay. So for people who want to lock in when it comes to business and doing production, you have a lot of content around being able to scale. Can you talk to people or give us a little bit, like a couple of tidbits when it comes to learning how to scale your business when you're in production?
Yep. So, kind of tying back into what you said earlier, like, oh, how do you handle all this influx of new work and everything? Systems. That's, if you're gonna scale, you have to have systems in place, because, like you said, it's like, imagine if I did kick the bucket on that plane, but Hired Media still needs to go on. If I don't have any training, any blueprint, it just dies right there with me. But, I've built out trainings, and now I've been able to put people in place to where they can still operate when I'm not there. That's why I can go on vacation and it's still running and different things like that. So scaling up, definitely you got to recreate yourself. When you're starting, when you're by yourself, you're everything. Head of marketing, sales, the shooter, the producer. So you're able to, like, segment out each function. You know what I mean? That's when you can really, even if you're still operating them, just having the blueprints for them, because eventually I'm gonna hire somebody for it. That's huge.
Wow.
That's definitely huge. And then just investing in yourself. A lot of people, like, talk down on a 9 to 5, and I'm like, yo, that's your gateway, especially if you're not there yet. Like, that's how you can invest. Because at first, if you're just, a lot of people, they got the business, then they eating off the money. They get a job, they eat. They get a job, they eat. You should already be eating, and that job should just be, that business should just be funding itself. So just reinvesting. So being smart with your money, numbers and systems. That's two biggest things. And then branding. Like, those three things, just like the way you brand yourself, the way you market, and just the way you show clients that, hey, I will solve your problem. I'm an expert. Like, you don't have to micromanage me. Like, you should just trust me with all your problems. I care about your company. I'm gonna take you to the next level. I know all the questions you're gonna ask before you ask them. That makes them so much more comfortable, and you're able to get bigger clients, bigger budgets, different things like that. So definitely them three things for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, well, first of all, okay, so first before I ask you this next question,
Mhm.
can you give us like maybe just like a sneak peek into what the script is, right? Because sometimes people are like, I do feel like I'm skilled. I do feel like I have the aptitude to do well in this particular job. I just don't know what to say to people. I just don't know how to approach them in order to like introduce business with them. What are you saying to people? Do you have like a go-to script that you use when you're like finding these corporate people, and like what is the messaging behind booking them?
So I'm in a position, a very blessed position, to where I don't necessarily have to do outreach. It's more so
Wow.
intake. So a lot of times I have people just coming to me like, hey, I found you on Google, found you here, and it's me just having a conversation about what they want. But you know, if I would say I had to do outreach and I'm just like talking to people, the biggest things that a lot of these corporate clients they want to know is that we've got the experience and that we care. So like a lot of people that have hired me in the past, just recently, they just like, we hired you because you cared, because you told us, oh, it's a lot more than just your video. It's about, okay, what are your marketing plans? What are your true goals? Because anybody who shoots a video, they don't really care about the video, they care about the results. Whether you're doing music, you care about the streams, the subscribers,
Right, it's
the
the
listeners,
post.
it's the results, you know what I mean? So once you really tap in with the client and say, hey, let's focus on your results and not the video, and you get to that point where the video is gonna be great no matter what. But that's really how I sell them, like really just like, hey, we got you on the video, you see the portfolio, let's focus on how we're gonna get you the results that you actually are looking for, and then just being able to show them like, I've done it for this many people. So I would say this a part of that script is that. So okay, what are your goals? What are your main goals? You know, and just letting them know, like, when you start getting into a space,
Yeah.
which is like
Hey.
this space right here,
Your
once
niche.
you start operating in your niche, that's when you really can become an expert. Like, so I work a lot with nonprofits.
That's good.
Yep, a lot of nonprofits, a lot of industrial companies and different things like that. So every time I talk to a nonprofit company, I'm trying to teach them about, there's this Google Ads grant that if a nonprofit isn't government affiliated and they have a really good cause, they can get up to $10,000 free in Google Ad spend.
Oh
I'm
wow.
trying to, right? So that same reaction, they have
Nice.
that same reaction. They're like, oh, you must work with nonprofits a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you just taught me something, you know? So you just opened up, you just made this connection, right? It's all
Wow.
about relationships and that connection. So that's one thing I had to learn too. When I first got into the corporate space, you know, I was real stiff, thinking I had to be suit and tie. Like, yes, I thought it had to be a script. Yes, yes. But now I'll be like, man, what up? And how's it going? Like, I just finished me some Chick-fil-A. It's a good day. How you doing? Let's talk about your project. Just being relatable. People like to
Yeah.
just relate. Like, you know, at the end of the day, this person's gonna be like, yeah, I hired that person because I had a great conversation with them. They knew what they were doing, rather than somebody who just kind of like read from a script. You just gotta have your bullet points, you know. So I learned not to be so suit and tie and just like, you know, when they like you and you're expert, that's perfect.
Right.
So like I said, now so right now I'm operating in three main categories. Now I'm an expert, so I can really speak their language. So I'm in that niche, so I can really, I have the results. I know how to make them tick and how to make them get results. So that's how I'm really able to excel. So when you're just trying to do some of everything, I would say just pick at least three categories and really try to become an expert in that industry, that field, not just the video, but that whole field. And then that's where you can take off. So
What do you mean three categories? Like what would be some examples?
so it's hard to just pick one. When you're creative, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna do forklift videos, and you're like, I want to do more than that. So it might be like, hey, I do product videos, I do narrative commercials, and I do documentaries. You can even go more specific and say we work with healthcare and retail, right? So boom, so now your portfolio's gonna start to show that, right? And you know, once you, I'm pumping you up with the branding right now, but
Thank
like
you.
the thing is though, like I said, let's say when I had that near-death experience, I was having a heart problem. When they say, oh, where do you want to go when you get off the plane? Where can we take you? Don't take me to a general physician. Take me to a heart specialist. they got the results. I know
Right.
they know exactly what I need. So
Specific,
it's
yeah.
the same thing. Like, if Coke wants to shoot a music video inspired commercial, are they gonna go with the director that's been shooting all these just random documentaries, or they can go with the director who actually been shooting music videos just like they like? So it's just being able to just speak to what they want and everything like that. So that's what I meant by just the categories. Just find three if you notice that you've been excelling in that area, that's where you're really passionate, then just try to focus on that and just go up in that vertical. So
I love it. Okay, well, Derick, you obviously are doing amazing things. You've worked with a lot of people. You've been able to see a really, really good amount of success in production in your industry. I really, really look forward. I too am a Christian, so I really look forward to seeing your Christian content. I'm gonna be on the lookout for that. But for people who want to tap into what you're doing, maybe want to be one of those interns that you spoke about, or want to shadow you for a day on production, or want to just kind of be under your tutelage, your wing when it comes to mentorship or anything to that degree, what's the best way for people to contact you and get involved?
Honestly, Instagram, I'm on there a lot because some of my biggest clients I get from Instagram. So my Instagram is Derick Pope II. That's DERICK, one R. People forget that. DERICK Pope, POPE 2. And then my bio, you can see all the different companies, the different arms of Hired Meat and everything. And like I said, that's where we spend most of our time. So like business cards, getting people's phone numbers and everything. I'll get that too, but that's why those dot cards are so good. You get the phone number, email, and Instagram. Like that's
nice.
where. Because how many numbers have you gotten where you just forget?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I forgot them. I can't find them. So Instagrams. That's where you can get in touch with me. So.
All right. Well, we did it, man.
We did it. We did
Finally.
it. My hands are cold.
Finally.
We got the fan in here blasting, y'all.
We
keeping us cool, but we.
We locked in. We did the thing. Thank you so much for
Appreciate
coming
you.
on. I got a lot of
Appreciate you.
gems out of today. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna take away a couple of things with me from what you said in this conversation. And as people watch, hopefully they can take some things from it, implement it in their lives and in their businesses, and do the same. So yeah, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
It was
peace.
dope.